What if I told you that making more money might actually be making you poorer? That the harder you work, the more you earn, the deeper the financial trap you're falling into. I'm Tom, and this is Tom Thinks. I'm here to cut through the Wall Street jargon and give you the real talk on your money, even if it hurts your feelings a little bit. Today, we're going to uncover the brutal mathematics of why your high income isn't saving you, and what you can actually do about it. The income illusion. Look, I want you to think about something for a second. How many people do you know who make really good money but are still stressed about their finances? Doctor driving a luxury car but worried about retirement. The lawyer with the beautiful house but drowning in debt. The tech worker with the six-figure salary but living paycheck to paycheck. Honestly, this isn't just anecdotal. There's research from the white coat investor that shows something shocking. 1/4 of doctors in their 60s are not even millionaires. Doctors, people who spent over a decade in training, who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and yet 1/4 of them reach retirement age without $1 million to their name. The research calls this a huge failure. But here's the thing, it's not just doctors. This is happening to high earners everywhere. Now, I know what you're thinking. Tom, that doesn't make any sense. If you make $300,000 a year, how can you possibly not be wealthy? And that's exactly the point. That's the illusion we're going to break today. Because income is not wealth. Income is just the water flowing into your bucket. Wealth is what stays in the bucket. And most people have buckets with so many holes that no matter how much water you pour in, it all leaks out. The research from RAISINI tells a story that perfectly illustrates this. The author made his first million at 17 years old. That should have been financial freedom. Instead, it became the most expensive lesson of his life. He writes about how the entertainment industry fed him first-class flights, luxury hotels, and the illusion that if he kept making more, he'd always be fine. When the meals are paid for, the champagne keeps flowing, and your peers are flexing watches and designer brands, it's easy to believe you've arrived. But here's what he learned the hard way. Without rules, wealth slips through your fingers. Money flowed in fast, but it leaked out just as quickly. Travel, lifestyle, bad deals, unnecessary risks. He was living proof that high income doesn't equal financial stability. And this is the first mathematical truth we need to understand. Your income level doesn't determine your wealth level. Your financial habits do. Your system does. Your discipline does. The research puts it perfectly. It's not how much you make that matters, it's how you allocate what you make. And that allocation, that system, is what's missing for most high earners. They're playing a different game than they think they are. They think they're in the wealth accumulation game, but they're actually in the lifestyle inflation game. Every raise, every bonus, every promotion just becomes an excuse to spend more. A bigger house with a bigger mortgage. A nicer car with a bigger payment. Private schools, country clubs, vacations that look good on Instagram. And before they know it, their expenses have risen to meet and often exceed their income. They're running on a treadmill that keeps getting faster, and they can't get off. Stick with me here, because this is where it gets interesting. This isn't about judging anyone's lifestyle choices. This is about understanding the mathematics. If your expenses grow at the same rate as your income, you will never build wealth. Never, it's mathematically impossible. You'll just have a fancier version of being broke. And that's the first trap of the high-income earner. They mistake cash flow for net worth. They see the big number on their paycheck and think they're winning, while their actual balance sheet tells a completely different story. The debt versus investment trap. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest mathematical mistakes high earners make. The debt versus investment decision. And I want to start with a question that comes straight from the research. Someone asked, how is paying off your mortgage early a bad move investment-wise? They couldn't comprehend how that's possible. Their logic was solid on the surface. If you have a mortgage of $150,000 and $350,000 in cash, your net worth is $500,000. If you pay off the mortgage, You have $500,000 in the house. Same net worth. Plus, you no longer have to pay interest. So why would anyone say this is a bad investment move? Honestly, this question reveals a fundamental misunderstanding about opportunity cost. And opportunity cost is the silent killer of wealth building. Here's the math they're missing. Let's say you have a mortgage with a 3% interest rate. That's historically low, but let's use it for this example. And let's say you have extra cash you could use to pay down that mortgage. The instinctive move is to pay off the debt, save the interest, and feel financially secure. But now consider the alternative. What if you took that same cash and invested it in the stock market? Now, I'm not talking about gambling on meme stocks. I'm talking about a broad market index fund that tracks something like the S&P 500. Over the last 40 years, the average return has been around 10%. Do you see the mathematical difference? Paying off a 3% mortgage gives you a guaranteed 3% return on your money. That's not bad. But investing that same money could give you a historical average of 10%. That's more than 3 times the return. Over 30 years, that difference becomes astronomical. We're talking about the difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars. Wait, I know what you're thinking. Tom, the stock market is risky. Paying off my mortgage is safe. I want security. And that's a completely valid emotional response. The psychological comfort of owning your home free and clear is real. I get it. But here's where we need to separate emotion from mathematics. The research shows us something fascinating about this emotional versus mathematical conflict. High earners often make the emotional choice because they're trying to reduce stress. They think if I just pay off my house, I'll feel secure. But mathematically, they're making themselves poorer in the long run. They're trading potential millions for psychological comfort today. And this isn't just about mortgages. This pattern repeats with all kinds of debt. Car loans, student loans, credit cards. The instinct is to pay them off as fast as possible. And for high-interest debt like credit cards, that's absolutely the right move. But for low-interest debt, the mathematics tells a different story. The mathematics says you should prioritize investments that have higher expected returns than your debt interest rate. Now, here's the secret that nobody talks about. This debt versus investment trap is particularly dangerous for high earners because they have more money to misallocate. A person making $50,000 a year might only have an extra $200 a month to either pay down debt or invest. The impact of their choice is relatively small. But a person making $300,000 a year might have an extra $5,000 a month. If they consistently choose the 3% return over the 10% return, they're leaving millions on the table over their lifetime. Millions. And this brings us to the second mathematical truth. Wealth isn't built by avoiding costs. It's built by maximizing returns. It's built by putting every dollar to work in the most productive place possible. And for most high earners, their home is not the most productive place for their extra cash. Their investment accounts are. But here's the psychological twist. Paying off debt feels like progress. It feels like you're accomplishing something. Investing feels abstract. It feels like you're just moving numbers around on a screen. And that feeling, that emotional response, is what keeps high earners from building real wealth. They're solving for peace of mind today, at the expense of financial freedom tomorrow. The 1/3 rule solution. So if the problem is misallocation, what's the solution? How do high earners break out of this cycle? The research gives us a beautifully simple framework. It's called the 1/3 rule. And honestly, this might be the most important financial concept you'll hear today. Here's how it works. You divide every dollar you earn into 3 equal parts. 1/3 for living expenses, 1/3 for saving and investing, and 1/3 for paying down debt or building future security. That's it, that's the whole system. Now I know what you're thinking. Tom, that sounds too simple. My finances are complicated. I have mortgages, car payments, kids' college funds, retirement accounts. But that's exactly the point. Best systems are simple. They're easy to understand and easy to follow. Complexity is the enemy of execution. The beauty of the 1/3 rule is that it cuts through all the excuses. It doesn't matter if you earn $3,000 a month or $30,000 a month. The principle stays the same. Structure beats income, clarity beats chaos, and discipline beats lifestyle creep every single time. Let me break down why this works mathematically and psychologically. Phi arson, the 1/3 for living expenses forces you to live within your means. No matter how much you make, you only get to spend 1/3 of it on your lifestyle. This automatically prevents lifestyle inflation. If you get a raise from $100,000 to $150,000, your lifestyle budget only goes from $33,000 to $50,000. The rest gets allocated to building wealth. Second, the 1/3 for saving and investing ensures you're always building your future. This isn't optional money. This is mandatory money. Before you pay any bills, before you make any discretionary purchases, this money gets invested. And because it's a percentage of your income, it grows automatically as you earn more. Third, the 1/3 for debt or future security gives you flexibility. If you have high-interest debt, this is where you attack it. If your debt is under control, this becomes additional investment money or security fund money. The research describes it perfectly. The 1/3 rule is like financial oxygen. Without it, you can be making millions and still suffocate under expenses, stress, and poor habits. With it, even a modest income begins to compound into security, freedom, and eventually wealth. Now, let's talk about the psychology behind why this works. Human beings are terrible at making consistent, rational financial decisions. We're emotional, we're impulsive, we're influenced by social pressure. The 1/3 rule removes the need for decision-making. It creates automaticity. You don't have to decide each month how much to save. The rule decides for you. You don't have to feel guilty about spending money on yourself. The rule has already allocated money for that purpose. This is what behavioral economists call pre-commitment. You're committing to a system in advance, so you don't have to rely on willpower in the moment. And for high earners, this is absolutely critical, because high earners face more temptation, more opportunities to spend, more social pressure to display wealth, more financial complexity that can justify bad decisions. The 1/3 rule cuts through all of that. It's your financial constitution. It's the rule you live by no matter what. Here's the most important part. This rule works at any income level. The research shares that the author learned this after making and losing millions. He writes, "I learned the hard way that money without rules is a curse. The 1/3 rule is the kind of system I wish someone had handed me at 17. If I had applied it then, I wouldn't have just made $1 million. I would have kept it, grown it, and multiplied it." And that's the third mathematical truth. Consistency beats intensity. Saving a small percentage consistently for 40 years will make you far wealthier than saving large amounts sporadically. The 1/3 rule gives you that consistency. The time mathematics. Now let's talk about the most powerful force in finance. No, it's not your income. It's not your investment picks. It's not even your savings rate. It's time. Time is the magic ingredient that turns ordinary savings into extraordinary wealth. And the mathematics of time is what separates the truly wealthy from the high-income poor. Research gives us some stunning numbers. If you're 25 years old and you invest $100 a month from age 25 to 65 at the average S&P 500 return over the last 40 years, you will have over $1.1 million. Let me repeat that. $100 a month starting at 25, 40 years. Over $1.1 million. That's the power of compound interest. That's the power of time. But here's where most high earners mess up. They think, I make good money. I'll start saving later. I'll catch up. And that's a mathematical disaster, because time is the one resource you can't get more of. You can always make more money. You can always get another job. You can always start a side business. You can never get back lost time. And the mathematics of lost time is brutal. Let's say you wait until you're 40 to start investing. The research shows you can still become a millionaire, but look at what it takes. Instead of $100 a month starting at 25, you need $1,000 a month starting at 40 to hit $1 million by 60. That's 10 times the monthly investment for the same result. 10 times, because you lost 15 years of compounding. 15 years where your money could have been working for you. Now, think about this in terms of a high earner's psychology. A high earner at 25 thinks, $100 a month is nothing. I'll worry about investing when I'm making real money. So they spend that $100 on dinners, on clothes, on vacations. Fast forward to 40. They're making $300,000 a year. They think, now I can really save. But mathematically, they need to save $1,000 a month just to catch up to where they would have been if they'd started with $100 at 25. And psychologically, saving $1,000 a month feels much harder than saving $100 a month, even though they're making 10 times more money. Why? Because their lifestyle has expanded to match their income. Their expenses have grown. Their commitments have grown. Their psychological threshold for what constitutes necessary spending has grown. This is the time debt that high earners accumulate. They trade time for lifestyle today, and they pay for it with exponentially higher savings requirements tomorrow. But here's the good news. The research makes it clear. Your age and income are not excuses. Your life is not a snapshot, it is a film strip. You can change your future. You can build wealth. The mathematics of time works in your favor as soon as you start. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Every day you wait, the mathematics gets harder. Every month you delay, the mountain gets steeper. But every day you invest, the power of compounding starts working for you. Now, let's connect this back to the 1/3 rule. The 1/3 rule automatically solves the time problem, because it forces you to save and invest from day one of your earning career. It doesn't matter if you're making $30,000 or $300,000. 1/3 goes to investing, immediately, consistently, without debate. This means you're never accumulating time debt. You're always taking advantage of compounding. You're always moving forward. And this brings us to the fourth mathematical truth. Small amounts consistently invested over long periods of time create more wealth than large amounts invested over short periods. It's not about how much you invest. It's about how long you invest. Time is the leverage that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. And high earners who understand this mathematics stop trying to time the market. They stop trying to pick stocks. They just show up consistently, month after month, year after year, and let time do the heavy lifting. Community mathematics. Now I want to talk about something that might surprise you. The mathematics of community. Because building wealth isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about psychology. It's about behavior. It's about the people around you. And the research from the white coat investor reveals something fascinating about this. They write, the white coat investor isn't simply about individually learning the intricacies of finance. It's also about building a cohort of like-minded people who you can teach, learn from, and lean on. We're not just a bunch of individuals on separate paths to financial literacy. We're a community who can help each other get to where we want to be. This is mathematical psychology in action, because your financial decisions are not made in a vacuum. They're influenced by your social circle. They're influenced by the people you compare yourself to. They're influenced by the norms of your profession and your community. And for high earners, this social mathematics is particularly dangerous, because high earners tend to socialize with other high earners. And those social circles often have expensive norms, fancy dinners, luxury vacations, private schools, country club memberships. When everyone around you is spending money at a certain level, it feels normal. It feels expected. It feels like this is just what people at your income level do. But mathematically, this is a wealth destruction machine. Because if everyone in your circle is spending 80% of their income on lifestyle, and you try to only spend 33%, you'll feel out of place. You'll feel like you're not keeping up. You'll feel pressure to conform, and that pressure is expensive. This is why community matters mathematically. If you surround yourself with people who value financial independence over displaying wealth, your mathematical odds of success go up dramatically. If your friends are talking about investment returns instead of car purchases, you're more likely to make good financial decisions. If your social circle celebrates frugality and investing, you'll feel social reward for building wealth rather than spending it. The white coat investor community understands this. They've helped hundreds of thousands of high earners eliminate debt, avoid costly mistakes, and invest wisely. And they've done it by creating a community where the norms support wealth building, where doctors can talk openly about money without judgment, where they can learn from each other's mistakes, where they can get support when they're tempted to make a bad financial decision. This community effect has a mathematical impact. It reduces your likelihood of making expensive mistakes. It increases your consistency. It provides accountability, and accountability is mathematical gold. Because human beings are terrible at holding themselves accountable, we make excuses for ourselves. We rationalize bad decisions. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow. But when you're part of a community that expects you to follow through, that checks in on your progress, that celebrates your wins, your probability of success goes up exponentially. Now here's how this connects to our earlier mathematics. Remember the 1/3 rule. Implementing that rule is much easier if you're part of a community that uses the same rule. If your friends are also allocating 1/3 to investing, you won't feel pressure to keep up with their spending. You'll have people to discuss investment strategies with. You'll have support when you're tempted to break the rule. This is the mathematics of social proof. We're wired to follow the behavior of our tribe. If your tribe is building wealth, you'll build wealth. If your tribe is spending everything they make, you'll spend everything you make. It's that simple. And this brings us to the 5th mathematical truth. Your financial success is not just determined by your personal choices. It's determined by the mathematical environment you create around those choices. Your community, your systems, your habits, your environment, all of these either support or undermine your financial mathematics. High earners who understand this intentionally curate their financial environment. They join communities like the white coat investor. They find accountability partners. They create systems that make good decisions automatic. They remove temptation from their environment. They understand that willpower is a finite resource, but a well-designed environment works automatically without willpower. And that environment, that community, that system, that's what turns high income into high net worth. The system beats the salary. So let's bring this all together. The mathematics of being poor despite a high income. We've covered the income illusion, mistaking cash flow for wealth. We've covered the debt versus investment trap, choosing psychological comfort over mathematical optimization. We've covered the 1/3 rule solution, a simple system that forces proper allocation. We've covered the time mathematics, the brutal cost of delaying, and the magical power of compounding. And we've covered the community mathematics, how your social environment determines your financial behavior. Now here's the final mathematical truth. The system beats the salary every single time. A person with a modest income and a great system will always outperform a person with a high income and no system. Always. The research proves this in multiple ways. The person who starts investing $100 a month at 25 ends up with over $1.1 million. The doctor who follows the white coat investor system retires with multiple millions. The person who implements the 1/3 rule builds wealth regardless of their income level. The system is what matters, not the salary, not the job title, not the car you drive or the house you live in. The system. And this is the ultimate liberation for high earners. Because if your wealth is determined by your system, not your income, then you have control. You're not at the mercy of your employer. You're not at the mercy of the economy. You're not at the mercy of luck. You have agency. You can design a system that works. You can implement the 1/3 rule today. You can join a community that supports wealth building. You can start investing, no matter how small the amount. You can make mathematical decisions instead of emotional ones. The research from RAISINI puts it perfectly. Money isn't about how much passes through your hands. It's about how much you keep, protect, and grow. That's the mathematics in one sentence. Your income is what passes through your hands. Your wealth is what you keep, protect, and grow. And what determines how much you keep, protect, and grow? Your system, your 1/3 rule, your investment consistency, your community, your mathematical decisions. So here's my challenge to you, especially if you're a high earner feeling financially stressed despite your income. Implement one system today. Just one. Maybe it's setting up automatic investments of 1/3 of your income. Maybe it's joining a community like the White Coat Investor. Maybe it's calculating the opportunity cost of paying off low-interest debt versus investing. Start with one mathematical change. Because here's what the mathematics shows us. Small changes, consistently applied, create exponential results over time. You don't need to revolutionize your entire financial life overnight. You just need to start moving in the right mathematical direction. 1/3 to investing, consistent monthly contributions, community support, time for compounding to work. That's the formula. That's the mathematics of turning high income into high net worth. That's how you escape the trap of being poor despite making good money. Because in the end, wealth isn't about what you earn. It's about what you keep. And what you keep is determined by your system, not your salary. Your system, build the system. The wealth will follow. I'm Tom, and this has been Tom Thinks. Now go build your system.
Found this interesting? Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like, share it out, and drop your questions or ideas in the comments. Until our next adventure.